And here we have an important principle, that the way that something becomes tameh, the way that something becomes impure, the same way it becomes pure, the opposite. So for instance, halachically, let's say for instance, a pot becomes impure by cooking something with heat. And then you end up cooking something which is not kosher. Now the only way to make that pot kosher, again, is with heat, because the way it comes in is the way it goes out. So now Rabbi Nachman and Rav Natan are opening up a very deep Hasidic and Kabbalistic discourse based on this reality. And that is that the Jewish kelim, when a Jew eats food from these different vessels that need to be koshered by placing them in the mikvah, the real reason why it's like that, shekol zedim shach b'china teva, because when you buy vessels or kelim, plates, pots, pans from non-Jewish companies or non-Jewish people, it's from the Reshoot of Teva, from nature, because just like we said in the past, the life force, the chiyut of a Jew is emunah, is faith in Hashem, faith specifically that he's the manhig, that he's the one who's causing every single thing that takes place. Teva is a seeming contradiction to that, because nature is already predictated, so to speak. It doesn't appear to be that it is caused specifically through the hand of Hashem. Instead, it's coming through natural laws, people, places, and things. Now, when a non-Jew believes that things are happening naturally, that itself does not cause them to lose life force or lose hope or to start to experience anxiety or sadness. In fact, that's their life force. However, according to Kabbalah and Chassidut, a Jewish soul's life force is emunah. It's belief that Hashem is creating and recreating reality at every moment, which we've spoken about in the past, how according to certain branches of science, they've actually bared this out to be true, even scientifically, that the world is coming into and out of existence at every moment and everything in it as well, when looking at a micro level at particles and things of this nature. Okay? But when a Jew does not believe that what's taking place is coming from Hashem and instead is attributing it to nature, whereas for a non-Jew, this could make him happy or give him life force or make him feel assured and clarity, the Jew has the opposite experience. He starts to feel despair, he starts to feel anxiety, he starts to feel fear, he starts to feel sadness, he starts to feel overwhelmed. Why? Because a person's life force is their joy. And a Jew's life force is emunah. So when a person lacks emunah, that Hashem is the cause of everything that takes place, so he lacks joy and he lacks life force. That life force and that joy of that faith is rooted in what's called da'at, that's called God consciousness. And this was manifested within the Torah itself, which Moshe Rabbeinu brought down after 40 days, which is connected to the 40 seyah of the mikvah. So therefore, the plates, so to speak, the pots, the cups, the vessels that we are using for Pesach coming up, we need to make sure that the way it goes in is the way it comes out. And this is drawn from all of the tuma and all of the prohibited items that a Jew is not allowed to eat. That after it has been absorbed within a vessel, there's no way that this vessel can become pure, meaning that we can eat from it in a way which is beneficial for us spiritually and physically, until we first put that vessel through fire. Because the root of Teva, of nature, is fire. In Kabbalah, according to very old Kabbalistic sources, there are 4 yesudot, there are 4 fundamental elements which make up reality. The highest of which is Eish, is fire. However, these 4 yesudot, these 4 foundational elements, give birth to nature. So therefore, the highest one, which is fire, so to speak, spiritually, is the birthplace of nature. Nature is coming about and is rooted in, is sourced in this foundational element of Eish, of fire. And that's why you need to take these kelim and bring them through fire, because the only way to sweeten something or to purify something or to nullify something which is negative in your life, according to Chassidut, is to bring it back to its source. Because just like it became not kosher through Eish, you need to bring it back through Eish. However, as long as a vessel that you eat on or drink with has not absorbed a prohibited item, only that you bought it from a non-Jew, meaning it went out from the Reshut, the providence or the province of a non-Jew, or let's Kabbalistically or spiritually, we're referring to the providence of non-belief. You're taking it from that place of non-belief. You're taking it from that da'at, from that consciousness of nature, and you're bringing it into your home. You're bringing it into the home of a Jew. And now you're no longer in the Reshoot of Teva, of nature. Now in the Reshoot, you're in the province of Das, of God consciousness, of the waters of the mikvah. Okay? So now you don't need to put it through fire, but you do need to put it through water. Shehu kone koach hapatzim tachat reshuto. That he acquired all of the objects under his domain, b'chinat dat kanita ma hasarta, like Chazal taught in Kohelet Rabbah. When a person has acquired da'at, he's acquired it, ma hasarta, what do you lack? You don't lack anything. Because da'at is the life force of anything that exists at the highest level. So when a Jew acquires da'at, he doesn't lack anything. However, when he doesn't have da'at, Chazal teach this is the greatest poverty. The greatest poverty is the poverty of das, of God consciousness. Kikar adam hu da'at, because the essence of man is das, is God consciousness. And therefore, when this vessel goes out from the Reshut, the domain of non-Jews, or specifically disbelief, meaning it's going from the das, the consciousness of the atheist, of the non-believer, meaning the one who believes only in Teva, in nature, then you don't need to put it through Aish, you don't need to put it in fire. It's enough that you dip it in a mikvah. Because Rabbi Nachman explains in Likutey that the waters of the mikvah or ma'ayin are like a taste of Almhaba. Just like Shabbat is 1/60th of Almhaba, so too the mikvah itself is like a living experience of the world to come. This is also connected to the fact that there's 40 seah in the mikvah. There's 40 measurements of water within the mikvah. Because according to Kabbalah, the gematria of 40, the mem, is also corresponding to the sphere of Bina. Bina is the highest female channel of godliness. It says that every woman has an extra dose of Bina. Bina Yetera, they call it in Chazal. An extra dose of Bina. That also is part of her increased and heightened intuition about things which usually men are not privy to unless they have a stronger female dimension to their soul, in which case they would also have this extra dose of Bina, so to speak. But this is more normative for Jewish women. And interestingly, that quality of Bina, of understanding, which is the highest female dimension or channel of godliness, it is actually the place that we call Almhaba. Meaning that place, that womb, that Bina, that highest level of dimension of female consciousness, that is actually the makom, that's the space of Almhaba. And that is as well the manifested within water itself, within the mikvah. And it's from that place, meaning from Almhaba, that we're drawing hashgacha. Because Rabbi Nachman has an unbelievable lesson where he explains that even though a Jew is not living by Teva, he's not living by nature, he's only living by hashgacha partit, he's only living by providence, divine providence, something which is above nature, fascinatingly explains that divine providence has no place in this world at all. So where is it coming from? So Rabbi Nachman says it's coming from Olam Haba, meaning that whenever Hashem does something for you in this world that you experience consciously as coming from him and not through nature, it's not coming from this world at all. It's coming from Almhaba. It's coming from Bina. It's coming from the mikvah. And it's then being transported and drawn down into this world in which it doesn't exist. And by dipping in the mikvah, you destroy, you nullify nature, because you've even brought nature back to its source, which is hashgacha, which is providence itself. And through this, and through this you go out from tuma to tahara. You go out from from impurity to purity. Reshoot hakum, you go out from the providence of non-Jews, Reshoot Yisrael, to the providence of Jews, Yisrael. That the whole essence of a Jew is that he is above nature. And this is what Hashem showed Avram Avinu when he was looking for the land of Israel, because Rabbi Nachman explains that the whole essence of Eretz Israel is the place of Emunah. It's the place of Hashgacha Pratit. It's the place of Mala Min Teva, of above nature. And even though Avram was well versed in all aspects of nature, he was expert in all scientific and philosophical explorations like the Zohar brings down. But he didn't understand one land. He didn't understand one consciousness. That was the consciousness of Israel, the consciousness of the source of being a Jew. That consciousness was not rooted in nature at all. And therefore Hashem said, now look Shemaima, peer down at Shemayim. So Chazal say, I don't understand. You don't peer down at Shemayim, you don't look down at heaven, you look up. So Chazal explain that in fact Hashem took Abraham above the stars. And he said, look down. Because he was trying to show him that even though in the physical world, down here, you feel very small, you feel very limited, you feel very constricted, your root of your soul is way above this place. It's way above even heaven. It's a place which is still bound up within the mind of Hashem himself, so to speak. And in that place, there is no nature, there are no limitations, there are no constrictions. So when a Jew understands and believes be'emet in his heart, in his soul, in his mind, in his fingertips, in his toes, that the root of his soul is completely above this physical world. It comes from the place of Almhaba. It comes from the place of the mikvah. It comes from the place of Bina. It comes from above this physical world, the limitations of the 7 days, of the 7 continents, of the 7 notes in the musical scale, of the 7 colors in the spectrum. We come from the place of 8, where the brit milah happens on the 8th day. Where we stamp ourselves as Jews on the 8th day, not on the 7th day. To show that despite the constrictions of this world, which alluded to through the milah itself, that we remove this part and we reveal a keter, we reveal a crown. This is the crown which comes from above this world. And in this, we draw all of our life force from. And this is why the first word of the Torah, the Tikkuni Zohar explains, is if you flip the letters around, it spells brit the brit of fire. And with that, Hashem created the world. The world didn't create the brit created the world. So too it says that Hashem partnered with the Jewish people in the creation of the world. And Rabbi Nachman has a story about exchanged children, something which 200 years later Disney made a movie about, which is not nearly as wise or brilliant or as holy as the story that Rabbi Nachman came up with. But Bekitzer, it's about a child who's the son of a king, and he ends up getting exchanged by a midwife with the slave woman's child. And his whole life he thinks that he is a slave because he grows up in that home. He grows up with that belief system. He's raised to be one. But on the other hand, he always feels this lacking and this yearning and this hole inside of him, because he actually is not the son of a slave woman. He's the son of the king. And this is the Jewish people in exile. This is us now. That on the one hand, we grow up in the non-Jewish world. We grow up with non-Jewish beliefs. We get non-Jewish education. We, in some ways, are the biggest experts in Teva, in nature, in the world, to the extent that Jews have won more awards and have received more honors in scientific and mathematical discoveries, then for sure proportionally to any other nation, it's not even close. And while that might look like an unbelievable thing, and it might look like the most beautiful, most wondrous thing, that the Jewish people could thrive so much in these areas of secular academia, however, Rabbi Nachman teaches that it's a very, very deeply rooted trial. Because the more that a person gains expertise and through belief in Teva, in nature, the more he's bound to that nature. So while it looks like he's breaking through boundaries, he's actually creating more and more boundaries. But when a person looks down and he sees he has a brit milah, which was given on the 8th day, that means he's Ish Yisraeli, or he's an Isha Yisraelit. He's a Jewish man, he's a Jewish woman. He doesn't come from 7. He doesn't come from nature. He comes from 8. He comes from this supernal womb of godliness, the place of the mikvah, the waters of love, the waters of unity, the waters of transcendence. And so therefore, what do we need to do that we believe that? We need to dunk in the mikvah, right? Because our body is also a keli. And we have spent many, many years absorbing wisdom and information and faith from secular sources, and believing that this is all that there is, and anything besides that is something way beneath that. And like Chazal has hinted to us for thousands of years, that this world is completely upside down, and the true tzaddikim were sent to be Moshe, to draw us into the water of the mikvah. And so B'ezrat Hashem, we have the merit to jump in the mikvah physically, that we have the merit to jump in the mikvah of the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, and to swim in those waters, and to learn those teachings every day, and to meditate on those teachings every day, to pray on those teachings every day, even beyond understanding, to live with them even when we don't understand. Just like when you go into a mikvah, you don't understand what it's doing for you, but you know that somehow afterwards you feel whole, you feel reattached, you feel reconnected, because it's the root of your soul is that mikvah. And whenever anything is brought back to its root, it's healed. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should all experience refuah shleima, complete healing, as we move into the month of Nisan, the month of miracles, when the waters of the mikvah are going to spread B'ezrat Hashem throughout the world, and Da'at covers the world like water covers the sea. And Moshe will sing again the new song, the song of redemption, the Rosh Hashanah, the song of Emunah. And B'ezrat Hashem, with this, we're going to experience everything we've been looking forward to for thousands of years, personally and collectively. Everybody have an amazing day.